Welcome back, Cougar fans, to another edition of Coach's Weekly. My name is Al Mateo, and once again, I'm joined by Coach Greg Manos. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, and Coach, this has been quite a turnaround for you guys over these past few weeks. 6 in a row, 5 in conference, obviously the one non-con game against Greenville, but you guys, after spring break, came back off your toughest stretch where I believe it was about 1-5, 1-6, right? And you guys after that just been on an absolute tear, winning one against Norbert, another one against WLC, and then just keep on going. And so, Coach, just talk to me knowing that you guys have been playing your best volleyball. How does that feel towards the end of the year?
Yeah, it's been a really growing and neat process to have this open line of communication with our players, with our program, and make sure that we're all aligned. And just having that, again, that transparency, that openness, to be able to hear from our players, have these conversations about what we can do to make things better as time's gone on, is they've really made a strong pivot as a group where we've matured, we've grown. Early in the year, that consistency piece was a big part of our ability to find success as far as wins and losses, and now it's really showing full color, right? So they've persevered, they've put their heart and soul into things, and you can tell that we are a significantly better team now than we were a couple weeks before and even a couple weeks before then. So that constant growth, that constant mindset of just development, getting better every day, it's showing, and we're happy to see the results follow.
Yeah, of course. That's been quite a ride, quite a journey for you guys. And before we get into the heavy slate of conference games you guys played, want to talk about your senior day against Greenville. You guys pulled out a really good win that day, but just wanted to recognize some of the guys that you guys honored that day.
Yeah.
Van Gato, who broke the single season record for digs against Lakeland not too long ago with 257. And you guys also honored, Sean Beckman and your grad assistant Daniel Coates, and then let's not forget Tyler Hollebeck, who is one of your grads this year. Just talk about the impact those guys have had on the program this past few years that you've been here, and just seeing their growth as individuals and what it's had on you.
Yeah, Sean, it's been so encouraging because he's a dual sport athlete, and the challenge of that, plus being in the education department, which is really a strong, if you talk about the program here in terms of lining him up for success post-graduation, it's intensive, and he's, from an academic standpoint, a really high achiever. So to see him be a dual sport athlete, excel in both, play at a really high level on senior day, and just be able to show what a CUC athlete stands for. He's someone who's been able to hop in. Last year, I think it was his first or second game back, had a major impact in one of our conference games, even though we were lower on numbers, just because of the graduating class that was so big the year before. So he's been able to take on multiple positions, and after not playing since his senior year in high school, he has been able to really make an impact, even though it's mid-season and coming straight off of a really physical and successful basketball season. So he embodies what it means to be a CUC athlete, a successful student, someone who I know at the next chapter in whatever direction he goes, but especially within education, he's going to be excellent, and we know that. Van has been awesome to have. It's been so neat to have him since his freshman year was my first season here, and it's neat to see him find all those accomplishments because he's really put his mindset to being a better player. And he's also, again, from a student perspective, been excellent, very high achieving in the classroom, and has a number of options, considering he's graduating early too here after this spring semester, and just a 3-year stunt. So knowing that, he broke the career dig record here, the single season dig record here. So he's made a mark. He's made history for himself, and he's going to keep going. He's someone who's really diligent, had high aspirations and goals about this season. So happy to see that his performance has been really strong, and it's been showing obviously in our turnout, and he's been really consistent this year. And if there's one guy we had to pick across the entire season who's probably been our most consistent, it's Van. And he's put that time and effort into especially certain parts of his game that we knew were focus areas from his freshman year till now. He's grown, he's developed, and he's gotten more consistent. And then Danny. So I've been fortunate to know Danny since I was at my last institution. He was just a practice player for the women's team there, and we got to know each other, and he's from the area. So he's really come full circle as far as going from like an intro grad assistant, learning the ropes as far as coaching and what he can do to be effective, to he's a full-on assistant coach. He's someone who we rely on to help us in terms of whether it's scouting, recruiting, development with the players, and he's been our glue guy, where he's been an excellent mentor to the team. where he's been able to talk with them on a one-on-one basis and really help them out. Because I like to think I'm hip and cool, but I'm not anymore, I guess, as you say. So Danny's been able to relate to them in a number of ways and help them through, whether it's on the court or off the court. He's been a rock and been steady for us. So all three of them, we're happy to have that recognition for them to have that success during the game and really be awarded all of those things in terms of just their careers here. So they will be severely missed, but obviously we still got ways to go, so we're not going to put that hat on yet.
Yeah, of course. And speaking of that, going into these conference games that you guys were able to pull off these past few weeks, and starting with IIT, this was a pretty big game for you guys in terms of the playoff implications up to that point. You guys are still fighting, still trying to find your seeding in terms of that. You guys were on the road. You guys lose the first set, but you guys didn't play really good 3 sets right after that. Just talk about your takeaways from that game and what you saw, and then just the ability to just close out on the road, in pretty big environment.
Yeah, that road warrior mentality came through, and you could see from that first set into the second, then winning set 2, 3, and 4, they emotionally were all in. You could tell that their attitude, their commitment to excellence, their perseverance, like they've been gritting out games because they just want it more. And it plays to our strengths as a team in certain ways about our defense, our scrappiness, and our ability to win in transition. And IIT did a couple things really, really well, like best in the conference as far as some aspects of their game, and we were able to neutralize that. So being even with them on their strengths and then being open, free, mobile, fast in our strong areas, we created ourselves a really good opportunity to win, and they took it. It's a good team. It was a good matchup, but the reality is our guys wanted it more, and it showed in the final score.
Yeah, it did. And then you guys played Lakeland that weekend, and you guys came in there to handle business. There was an extra points there in that second set. But then after that, you guys really just took off. And, it seemed like during that game, you guys just seemed to get stronger as it went on. I mean, your attack percentage was pretty ridiculous towards the end of that game. It was around like 54%. Which is outstanding, and obviously that was the game that Van broke the record and whatnot. So, you had a lot of great things happen that day. Now, do you feel with that game, you just seen the complete effort that you were expecting, at the beginning of the year, where we all knew you guys were really uber talented, but that consistency was finally starting to show. Just talk to me if that's what you saw out there.
Yeah, you mentioned the first set against IIT and maybe those early sets against Lakeland that were tighter, and then just continuing to get better. And it's that young core of ours playing on the road in a new environment, new depth perspective. There's a lot of moving pieces, especially when you have to drive over an hour or two to get to a game on like a early morning start to get on the bus. So they've gotten better as we've gone along. And in terms of, again, consistency, you mentioned, it's not so much the good, because the good's always been really good for us. We have the talent, and even though we're young, like the upside has always been there, like you said. But now we are really limiting our silly mistakes. We're making good decisions, and we're following our game plan where we want to make other teams beat us with their left hand. We want to make sure that we're attacking them where they're weakest, and our players have really now embraced the game strategy of that new school approach of, yes, we want to really own our strengths and make sure we're leveraging that. But if another team shows any sign of weakness or something we can maneuver within our game plan to just make it one more point better, they've done it. They haven't hesitated, and it's shown as, again, that fourth set score was significantly better than maybe set 1 and 2 because their ability to adapt and then also just own serve and pass. You ask anyone, serve and pass is everything. And when we're serving well, we are serving well. And when we're passing, that's been one of our strong suits across the season. It's a really good combo to have and put pressure on teams to beat us where they're not comfortable and we're very comfortable. So it's been neat to see that dynamic of the game from the service line get that much better as time goes on.
Yeah, and then, you guys took it into last night, in which, let me just set up the environment once again for you. I mean, you guys are playing Dominican, who's top 4 in the conference. They've been a juggernaut for many years now.
Yes.
Won the conference last year, both in the regular season and the conference tournament. And you knew the implications of this game. You guys win this game, you guys get into the playoffs, no doubt, doesn't matter what happens after. And, man, this was probably one of the best games I've ever seen, regardless of sports.
Yeah.
Just bar none.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a back and forth, so even. Probably set 3 was the only set where Dominican really, really dominated in terms of everything that was going on with that game. But I really just want to mention about, set 4 and set 5, where you guys got down towards the end of that, both of those sets, set 4, 18-15, and then you guys come back, storm back into that game. You guys have big plays, big defensive stops, big aces, big kills, and then set 5, you guys were on 12-7.
Yeah.
12-7, set 5, And, I didn't lose any confidence in you guys, but, to the general person, they're probably looking at that score like, man, this is probably over. You know what I mean? But you called a timeout, and I just want to know just personally, just what did you tell your guys in that moment, in that timeout? Just because after that, it just completely just shifted.
Yeah, Geisman was electric.
Yeah.
And the game, embraced it. The crowd was involved, so the environment was awesome. If you want to know what was said or done or adjusted by the players, it was just simple. It's just take it point by point. And they did that. They put their head on a swivel. They gave it 110%. And you could tell that grit, perseverance, maturity, consistency, that's what they did, is they went point for point. They were focused on every ball as far as the next contact, bettering it, making the right decision, and they were extremely successful. So on paper, does it look like it was maybe that gap we wanted in the fifth set? No, no. But so proud of the way that they persevered, and they showed so much heart during that game. And we saw then that that's the identity, that's the team you have to beat. When they're full go, when they're fully invested and they're all in, they're really tough to challenge, especially when you have that home court dynamic and feel it fueled them even more. So it was thrilling to see that comeback, that result, and again, it made a big, big dividend in terms of the result of our conference season.
Yeah, and we talked about the depth of your team throughout this entire time we've been on these weeklies, and I feel last night really showed that. You had big plays from multiple guys. I mean, Tyler Hollebeck had a great game last night, but you had some big plays from Gozowski. You had Eli Mosher making a few really good plays. Van. Everybody was really a collective yesterday.
Yeah.
And you could really see that. You guys were so in sync, just so together, and even when you guys did get down in those moments, there was really no sense of worry from the guys. No sense of loss of confidence, nothing like that. And so you speak to the development of your group throughout the year and where, the maturity in terms of them growing up, them, finally coming together, just how proud were you of that, when you were able to finally finish and get across that finish line yesterday?
They put in so much time, effort, and work into bettering their game. So whether it was the off season, here in the fall, whether it was across the summer, these guys are playing year-round. Whether it's the weight room, their physicality, like you could tell that they are all in. And to allow them to have that much success, they earned it. That Dominican team did not give us that set. The Dominican team was very talented, very consistent. The reality is our guys just kind of took it in more ways than not. And it was just so happy and encouraging because you could tell at the end of the game how emotionally invested they were. This matchup, this rivalry is such a neat matchup since we're just down the street, and it means so much to them. And, they went out and they took it. So they were on cloud nine. You could see the school, the grasp, all of our hearts were beating, as fast as can be. But that's the neat thing about this experience here is you have the support net, you have the fan base, you have the environment where you can have games like that. And, you had mentioned it being one of the craziest or coolest college atmospheres to be in, and that, to me, too, felt just like it. So they deserve it. They earned it. We're very, very happy for them, and we just want to make sure we can keep embodying that going forwards because we know that for whether it's the rest of this season, going into the next season, or future years ahead with incoming Cougars, it's just a really neat time to be here and be a part of this program.
Yeah, of course, and there's a few more things before we wrap up here, Coach. So you guys travel down to Marion tomorrow, or up to Marion, I should say. This is a team that they have been around middle of the pack as well in conference, but they are really, really good at home. Yeah. And you're going to another road environment where you guys will have to be Roy Warriors again. But with such an emotional win yesterday, and such a taxing win yesterday, what kind of process are you going to emphasize to the guys in terms of being ready for tomorrow with such a quick turnaround, with the mental fatigue, the physical fatigue that you guys went through to be able to go into a hostile environment and pull out, another win?
Marion is in a situation where, like you mentioned, one, they're good at home. They're really talented. They've got some quality wins against teams in that environment. Two, just the travel aspect, right? It's a couple-hour drive, getting off a bus, hopping in a new gym in a new space. There's a lot of adjustments that we have to make that they're going to have that home court advantage or non-travel attribute that plays into it. So that's a big part of it. So as great as yesterday was, we want to recognize all the good that happened, but we need to continue to get better. And even if our guys are not going to be physically 100% with the quick turnaround, it's making sure today in practice that it's load management based so that we're not wearing these guys into the ground. We're just getting them physically in a better spot heading into tomorrow. But really the bigger thing is, like you mentioned, the mental capacity of, okay, let's adjust our scouting, let's adjust our game plan, let's adjust our thought process, because we need to continue trending forwards. And they know that. We can't be satisfied with just making the tournament. We want to continue to trudge ahead, and we know that a win or just playing at a really high level tends to result in good things. So I'm confident that they're going to make that adjustment today, whether it's in practice or heading into the game, obviously on Friday. But we control our own destiny still. So a win puts us in a really good spot, and we don't want to hold back. So again, we have that safety net of clinching, which is great. But that's what these guys need to continue to do. And again, since we've made that pivot, that turn, however you want to say it, the positivity continues. So we're going to keep rolling.
Yeah, and next week obviously starts the conference tournament, and we don't know where you're going to be yet, depending on tomorrow's outcome. But you guys, like I mentioned, you guys probably the hottest team right now in the conference.
Yes,
probably by far none. And especially with yesterday's statement win, a lot of these teams are going to have to watch out for you guys now, because you're not the same team as you were at the beginning of the year or the beginning of conference. You guys are a completely different team. You guys have completely shifted the narrative on what everybody else thinks. And so just knowing that you're going into this conference tournament really soon, and understanding that you guys have really grown from the beginning of the year to now the end of the season now, just lay it out there, That's how dangerous are you guys now going into these last few weeks?
We're trying to keep things simple in terms of our mindset, where every day is an opportunity to get better. Every day is a new chance to get a good outlook on things, whether it's school or sports or you name it. But we just need to keep it one day at a time. And if we keep our nearsighted eyesights on the prize as far as just winning the next game, and we continue to show this mental toughness, this perseverance and adjustment, we know that good things will happen. So we continue to stress to them that let's not be a results-based focus. Let's continue to be process-focused. And they've embodied that, and that's what we're going to keep doing. So our saying for a lot of these guys is we want to row the boat, right? We know that we can't see behind us what's going to be coming as far as seeding, who we're playing, when we're playing, what dynamic that's going to be. But we got to keep churning, rowing that boat, knowing that there's good things ahead if we just keep our head down and keep pushing forwards.
Yeah, of course. And you can find tomorrow's game on CUCougars.com, as our volleyball team will take on Marian University in Marion. And, my name is Al Mateo with Coach Manos, and you can follow us as well for the coverage of the conference tournament next week. And as always, go Cougars.